Welcome to All Things Retreat podcast. I'm Holly Porter, your host and CEO of Retreat R&R. With over 25 years of experience in designing transformative retreats, I'm here to share insights and inspiration to help you create extraordinary experiences. Whether you're a pro or just starting out, you'll find valuable ideas here. Enjoy the ride. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome everybody to our show today. We have a fun guest with a different subject that I bet you haven't heard much on. So I want to jump right in and tell you about our guest. Her name is Dr. Catherine Darley, is the leader of natural sleep medicine. She combines her knowledge of sleep and circadian, hopefully I said that right, disorders with her training as a naturopathic physician to bridge these two fields. She treated patients for over 20 years along with training healthcare providers in sleep medicine. Dr. Darley now focuses on teaching people the sleep skills that they need to thrive at home, at work, and have a high quality of life. You can find her online at skilledsleeper.com and all the social media channels at Skilled Sleeper, including YouTube and Substack. And we will also let you know that at the end of the show, we'll have the show notes and you can find her there as well. So welcome to the show. We appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks for having me. Sleep is universal and I love to talk about it.
Yeah, we need it. It's as we get older, I think it becomes so much more a productivity, like check off box.
Absolutely.
So I have a few questions that I just want to ask you. We can keep this conversational, but just if you're okay to just answer some questions, I think
let's talk.
it will really help our listeners. Okay, so you're a leader in natural sleep medicine. So what inspired you to get into that field?
Well, when I was looking at sleep and how I wanted to approach it, from a psychology angle, from a researcher angle, from a doctor, physician angle, there was just a lot of using sleeping pills. And my gut was telling me that's not the best approach because they're addictive, they have side effects, and what approach could I take? And I decided I was familiar with naturopathic medicine already, and I decided that is the lens that I'm going to use to look at the problem of sleep and to help people with their sleep problems.
I love that. That's a really good. So have you been doing that? Mostly like specializing in that for the 20 years that you've been doing this?
Absolutely. Yeah. My whole working life has been in sleep, actually.
Wow. So what are some of the misconceptions that people have about it?
Well, there's a lot of misperceptions. Unfortunately, sleep is not one of those things that's taught in our high school health classes, or it's not even really taught in medical school, unfortunately. So there's not a lot of good information in the hands of the people who need it. One top piece of misunderstanding is that you can get by with 6 hours of sleep. And,
Not me.
6 hours of sleep is okay for probably somewhere between 2 and 4% of us. The other 98% of us are not going to do well with 6 hours. I bring that up because it's about a third of us who are only getting 6 hours of sleep on work nights. And you're impaired, functionally impaired, your performance is impaired, your mood is impaired, your health is impaired, increased inflammation, increased blood pressure, all the things. So the first misunderstanding to do away with is 6 hours is enough. And then you want to find out how much is enough. And for adults, they'll typically fall somewhere on the bell curve between 7 and 9 hours. There are people who are healthy, normal people. They don't have depression or thyroid disease or anything. They just are set at 9 hours. Think of those as kind of the people who are a little taller than average. It's equivalent, right? That people, there's a bell curve on anything you measure on people. And for adults, 7 to 9 hours of sleep is that bell curve.
Okay, so I have this is what I got told. This is a theory, I'm sure, but you verify if you've ever heard this before. So I got told years ago that when you go on maybe a vacation, like a cruise is a good one because you're kind of waking up and going to sleep whenever. And they said, if you want to test how many hours I'm sure there's other ways you can tell us, but how many hours your body needs, then you basically go to bed, wake up whenever. You just do that with no schedule, no alarm. And the fourth day, you count how many hours that you slept. Is that true, do you think?
4 days is probably not enough for most people to catch up on their sleep. So I
Okay.
like to do what I call the 10 by 10 test
Yeah,
is
let's hear more.
10 days in a row, 10 hours in bed. Often
Ooh,
when people do that, the first 5 or 6 days, they'll sleep the entire 10 hours.
mm,
This is for people who are chronically sleep deprived. It's not going to be the right
yeah.
approach for someone who has insomnia. But if you are not
Yeah.
sure how much sleep you need, that can be a good way to figure it out.
I've noticed that I need less now, especially I got CPAP I wear, from sleep apnea I got after having my big long COVID hospital journey. That was one of my gifts that I was given. And I noticed that I don't feel like I need as much now that I wear that, which is interesting. Like I just automatically wake up. I've always been an early riser, but I also go to bed early. So I always thought I was more like in the 8.5 range, but it seems like 7.5 to 8 is, I mean, it's only half an hour, but I, I'll sleep if I can, but I don't hardly ever wake up to an alarm unless I have to. Anyway,
Yeah, that is a great tip. Two things that you said. One is if you are waking up to an alarm, we know that you haven't gotten enough sleep. You're cutting off your sleep.
yeah.
So waking up without an alarm is best. We do tend to get a little bit less sleep as we get older.
Yeah.
And the other thing is about the CPAP. If you have untreated, undiagnosed obstructive sleep apnea, it makes it so your sleep isn't very efficient. It's very broken up and fragmented. Whether or not you realize it, we can see it when we're monitoring your sleep in the sleep clinic. And having that CPAP and getting really the regular sleep cycles that aren't fragmented, that aren't disturbed, can make your sleep more efficient so you're getting the rest you need in a little bit less time.
Okay, so people listening to this, if they're like wondering if they need a CPAP, my husband ended up having it mild. He thinks I dragged him in there just because I had to wear one, so then he had to wear one, right? So he doesn't even use his. He's mild and I was moderate. But I
Mhm.
had to stay in because of all my lung issues from COVID. I had to stay overnight and do the test. And he just had to do what I don't remember, it was a finger test or whatever they did at home. What do
Mhm.
you think for the differences on those?
I'm a big proponent of the in-lab test
Mm,
because there are 58 sleep disorders, which
wow.
often blows people's minds. And
Yeah.
we're going to be able to see a lot of those when a person's in the sleep lab. Whereas if you're doing the home test, it's really only testing for obstructive sleep apnea. It's not going to find any of those other sleep disorders. The other thing is that it's only valid if people have moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea because it's just not sensitive enough usually to capture that mild obstructive sleep
Uh,
apnea. So there's some problems with it. Obviously,
okay.
it's much more convenient if you can do the
Yeah.
test at home and it's cheaper. So that's why insurance companies really push people to do the home tests.
Well, my
But
bill
if
was
you're offered
$1 million.
the
So I
what?
did every test. My hospital bill was $1 million. So I did every test because everything was covered after that. So anyway,
Right.
I did it all. But yeah, it was an interesting thing. It was not fun either. And it was scary. And I'm kind of curious. I want to jump into how to relate this to retreats in a minute, but I want to ask you one more thing.
Totally.
Um, blow people's mind by how many times on the average you would say, I don't know this answer. I just know it's going to be surprising to people. How many times people that are deprived of sleep are quitting breathing? Like, isn't there like an average for that you
Oh,
see?
yeah. So somebody who has obstructive sleep apnea can and is at that moderate level is stopping breathing 15 to 30 times an hour. And those apneic
Yeah.
pauses are a minimum of 10 seconds, can be as long as 45 seconds. And what happens when we basically stop breathing, our blood oxygen can go down. At some point, the body says, alarm, not enough oxygen. And that alarm response is not normal for sleep. We should be in a really rested, calm state. So that alarm is your blood pressure increases like immediately, your heart rate increases, your sympathetic hormones, which is that adrenaline, the fight or flight hormones, get released, which usually when you're sleeping well, you're not having anything to do with those fight or flight hormones. All of that causes wear and tear on your heart and on your blood vessels, so your increased risk of heart attack, increased risk of stroke. So if somebody has told you, gosh, you snore so loudly, or you have a pattern of snore, silence,
Fun.
gasp, snore, then you definitely want to take care of that. Go to your
Yeah,
physician and say, I want to be evaluated for obstructive sleep apnea.
so important. So yeah, I 15 to 30. Wow, I think I was 26 or 28 when they did mine. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot.
And
I was
then,
shocked. Wow,
right. And over 30 is severe. We have sometimes people who are having upwards of 45, 50, 60 of these pauses an hour, which is, one a
very
minute.
dangerous.
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Okay, so shifting gears, let's talk about retreats. So listen up, retreat leaders, because I think you'll like how you could tie something like this into a retreat that you're doing. Retreats are designed to restore and rejuvenate. So how does the quality of sleep play in the role in that process for like a retreat?
Well, obviously, as you're designing your retreat, you want to make the design the best possible experience. You want people to be relaxed. You want them to be open to whatever experience you're designing, right? And kind of in a receptive state. You want them to get along well with the other participants. You don't want to have snarky little interactions among your participants. And you want them to come away saying, that was a good experience, right?
Yeah, right.
That's what you want as a retreat
That's
leader.
cool.
Uh, so, one thing to know as anyone who's designing programs such as retreats is that when people are sleep deprived, whatever's bad about their experience is amplified. They're going to focus more on that. Whereas if something good happens, they're going to be like, no big deal. So
True.
somebody gets stubs their toe when they're sleep deprived. Oh, big problem. They get a raise at the same time and they're like, so what? No big deal. So a really simple way to make sure that your retreat participants are having a good time and can come back and say, wow, I would do that again. I would recommend that retreat again. The organizer was awesome, etc., is to make sure that they're getting enough rest when they're in your hands.
Such a good tip. Oh, key. I love that one. So if most leaders focus on mindfulness and nutrition, movement, some of them, especially yoga are really popular, those kind of retreats,
Sure.
but how can they integrate sleep and wellness into their retreats? How could they make that part of it
Yeah,
besides
so
giving enough time?
right. So there's giving enough time. I would recommend that you have at least 10 hours uh, between the end of your evening session and the beginning of your morning sessions or breakfast, at
Right.
least 10 hours. So people can sleep, do their personal hygiene, whatever. And then you want to also honor a person's circadian rhythm. Our circadian rhythm is set so we sleep at night. It is also set for that after lunch lull. And, our bodies naturally have this kind of lull in that window from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So that's a good time to do things that are more meditative, that give some quiet time. Even if you're doing a wilderness or a camping retreat or a hiking retreat or a really intense yoga retreat,
Yeah.
having, if even if you're still doing a part of the program,
Mhm.
design it so that people can be more still and just kind of contemplative. Excuse me. Things
Love that.
like if you're on a nature retreat, have that 1 to 3 o'clock time be the time, excuse me, Mm. Even if you're having a nature retreat, have that 1 to 3 o'clock window be a time that maybe people are doing some journaling or some drawing of a nature element or some reflection or something that's not
Yeah.
hardcore go, go, go. Same with
Okay.
yoga or whatnot.
That's a
Um,
great idea. Yeah.
yeah, because people, yes, people can power. Sorry about this, Holly.
It's okay.
People
No.
can power through, but they're going to have a better experience if we're honoring their natural circadian rhythm.
So, okay, I got a question about that. I just have to say a funny thing. So, I think another good thing is when people are filling out their forms for the retreat, usually retreat leaders ask questions that they want to know. I think that'd be a great question to put in there. What's your low point of the day? Like I drop
Mm-hmm.
about 2 o'clock, 2:15. I can just tell that's when, like, I need to do something. I need to get up. I feel like that's my low. I tell my husband I'm a 10 to 2 girl, even though I'm a morning person. 10 to 2 is my productive time. I'm like, sorry you miss it every day. but but what I want to ask you is for those that don't understand circadian rhythm, can you go back and just explain that a little bit better and deeper?
Yeah, so we have our sleep system and we have our circadian system. They overlap somewhat, but they're also a little bit separate. Our circadian means circa is around and dian is a day. So this is our rhythm that is around 24-hour cycle. And our brain has a circadian rhythm, and every cell in our body has a circadian rhythm that makes it do more or less of its function at different times of day. One of
Right.
the areas that most people can relate to is our digestive system. Our
Hmm.
digestive system is set to work during the day and process foods, and it's set to be at rest at night. So if you've ever stayed up all night for a special project, or you've gotten up and had to travel in the middle of the night, you're eating some snacks, likely they're just sitting there and they're not
Yeah.
digesting well because our digestion is off. So think about that in terms of every system of our body, including our brain, and our brain function, our cognitive performance has a circadian rhythm to it. Things like having regular bedtime, regular wake time, those all help set our circadian rhythm. And having regular meal times also helps set our circadian rhythm. So we really want it to be well established that we are widely awake or deeply asleep. And
Yeah.
that way that we make it have such a high amplitude and so clearly differentiate wake times and sleep times is by having a regular routine.
So that being said, when people are coming to retreats, a lot of times they're coming from all over the world. They're in different time zones coming to, sometimes if they're international, they could be 12-hour, 18-hour time zone difference. How can attendees avoid like not just the jet lag, but adjust their circadian rhythm more quickly? What would you suggest for that?
That is a really complex answer, Holly, because it's all about the light and the dark exposure that people are getting in the time that they're eating meals. And really, depending on whether you're traveling east to west or west to
Yeah,
east, is going to change those recommendations. So um, I'd have to give an hour and a half class on that
got it.
answer.
Well,
As a
let's just say what you could do at a retreat about that. So if somebody brought you in as a speaker
Oh,
for a
absolutely.
retreat.
I would love to be a speaker at any type of wellness or corporate performance type of
Yeah,
retreat and talk about sleep and all of these issues that we're talking about because sleep really powers someone's life in all the
yeah.
ways. And if you're not getting adequate sleep, you're not having the best life that you could have. And that's it. End of sentence. If you're not getting enough
I
sleep,
love
you're not
that.
having
Yeah.
the best
So you're a
life.
retreat leader. Yeah. I think have a conversation with you about that. I think that's a great thing to bring someone in because you could kind of do something. I would think with what you do, you could do little things each day at a retreat, not just a workshop. That would be really
Yes,
cool.
absolutely. You could have a sleep focus because, one of the things that people are often trying to get away from by coming to a retreat is the overactive mind, and they're trying to learn something new. And that overactive mind interferes with sleep. And that's something that a lot of people need more skill building around. And it is a skill that you can learn to turn your mind off for sleep, but it takes some intention, it takes some instruction, some know how to get on the path to learning that.
I have a little idea maybe of what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. So,
Okay.
retreat leaders and entrepreneurs and busy people, they're working long hours a lot of times. How can you suggest they prioritize sleep without sacrificing that productivity that they want? Do you have a suggestion there?
Yeah. So if you're sacrificing your sleep, you're sacrificing your performance. And
Which is your productivity.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's not the other way around that by prioritizing your sleep, you're sacrificing your productivity. You're actually going to boost your productivity. And there's many, many studies that have shown that performance improves when people get enough sleep. Your motivation improves, your focus improves. And we know, you know, there's all that work literature too that shows that in the ninth hour of being on the job, you get something like 15% done as you got in the first hour. And it's like after 8 hours, sharp performance and productivity drop. And let's be realistic about that. The evidence is conclusive. So it's a false thought that the longer we work, the more we're going to get done. It's not really true.
Oh, so true. Well, okay. So as we wrap this up, what's one tip maybe you can give if someone's struggling with sleep, a small change maybe they could do?
The biggest thing that you could do in terms of one thing is for the 2 hours before bed to minimize the amount of light you're getting. Think about most of human history. People in the couple hours before bed have been in candlelight or firelight or just darkness, depending on
Yeah.
their circumstances. So,
Hmm.
the tip is on your phone, you can download what's called a Lux Meter app. That's Lux meter, and hold it up to your eye and measure how much light you're getting. You want to get 10 lux or less for the 2 hours before bed. You could do
Wow.
that either by dimming the lights in your home. You'll see this light that I have behind me. It's kind of a yellowish color twinkle light, a gentle yellow, like a natural yellow.
Yeah.
Those I have just for like those 2 hours before bed. I turn all other lights off. Or you can wear blue blocking glasses, and those blue blocking glasses will dim the light and change it to more of a sunset color. That will make a huge difference in your sleep.
What are those
Absolutely.
called? Blue what?
Blue blocking glasses. They have orangish reddish lenses, and so they block out the blue light.
Ah, are those good to
Blue
drive
light,
with as well?
I wouldn't drive with them because
Okay.
if they're going to do the job, they're going to be too dark to drive with.
Got it.
Basically, morning light, natural morning sunlight, is much heavier on blue, and that blue light, tells our body, "Wake up, time to start the day." And then that reddish sunset color tells our brain it's about time to go to sleep and start shutting down our physiology. When we have these LED lights and our homes all bright, we have the TV, we have the computer, we have our
Mm.
handhelds, we're getting all this blue light, and we don't
Noise.
get that chance to kind of ease into sleep.
That's such wow. Those are I learned a lot from you. So thank you. I hope everybody else got a few nuggets out of that. That was awesome. We're gonna have all your contact information, but it sounds like you're on Substack too. So you probably write some blogs, I'm assuming.
Yes, uh-huh. Yeah, I have a free newsletter that dives into sleep topics, and I always like to give an overview and the science, but then always do sleep skills that people can learn because I really my goal is to increase the know-how around sleep, and it's definitely something that the more we know and we can learn different skills and tips like the blue blocking glasses and whatnot, all of
Yeah.
those things help us be healthier, happier, more productive, and enjoy our people also.
So true. Yeah, that was no, that was great. I just never have heard that before. So I sure appreciate you coming on and sharing with our listeners all of your wisdom about sleep and not getting enough sleep. That's kind of really the message, right? Is get enough sleep. Figure out what
Yeah,
that is for you.
absolutely.
Love it.
Absolutely. So good luck to everyone with your retreats. And, retreats are awesome. And I think it's such a wonderful service. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And get a hold of her if you want her to come to your retreat and help your attendees out. I think that would be very fabulous, especially those retreats maybe that are a little longer and you have that extra time to work with them. I'd say more like the 3 to 5 day instead of the 2 to 4 would be perfect. But okay, until next time, everybody, we drop another podcast every Wednesday, so watch for us. And until then, we'll see you later. Bye for now. Thanks for joining us on this episode of All Things Retreat. We hope you're leaving with new ideas, fresh inspiration, and the motivation to take your retreats to the next level. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It helps us grow and reach more retreat leaders like you. And if you have any questions, topics you'd like us to cover, or just want to say hello, send us an email at info@weretreatrnr.com. Follow us on social media to stay connected and catch all the latest updates. Until next time, remember, great retreats start with great intentions. Let's make them extraordinary, one step at a time.